So with this, you want to hold it like this. So not down like this. See how you can't really hear me as well? But if I hold it like this, it feels weird, but that's where you want to be.
It began with Rosa Parks.
That was perfect. And then they'll have their microphone. It's gone. So I'll just pass it for now, but it will.
Not really. It began long before then in many places with many people.
It began when the first enslaved people were taken from their homes in Africa and brought to America. There was a proclamation, a civil war, Reconstruction, and so many promises made broken.
Oh, no, it's louder again. Thank you. You're on.
But for the person we honor this holiday, for Dr. Martin. But for the person we honor this holiday, for Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., and the movement he led, we will for now say it began with Rosa Parks.
Sing into the microphone. reader 6, yep. And so, like, hold the microphone like this, not like this. And I might, like, and so just try reading through.
But the microphone's on, right? December 1st, 1955. I'm scared. People are here. Montgomery, Alabama. Rosa Parks was riding bus number 2857 home from work. She was sitting in the front row of the black-only bus seats. The bus driver told her to give up her seat so a white man could sit down. The bus driver called the police, and Rosa Parks was arrested because she wouldn't give her seat up for a white man.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you all. I am the Reverend Ellen Quaadgras, minister at South Church, serving in co-leadership with Kirsten Hunter, our Director of Lifespan Ministry, who is currently traveling in Jerusalem and the West Bank, bearing witness with her group to the wrenching circumstances that continue to unfold in that part of the world. It's been good to get her messages on Facebook and see some pictures and hear a little bit about how that's been. And I'm glad to be here in shared ministry with all of you while she is bearing witness there in Jerusalem and the West Bank. We bring our collective witness to a troubled world as we support one another in all of it, and we support one another in all of life, day by day. Welcome to our service today. Welcome to all of you online. Welcome to all of you in the room. Today we honor the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And to frame our worship, I want to begin with the powerful words of Tanisha Johnson, the executive director of Black Lives Matter New Hampshire, and what she shared this week about this holiday. As we honor the life of Dr. King, she writes, "We do so not only in remembrance, but in resistance. Dr. King was a resistor, a strategist, an organizer, and a truth teller who believed deeply in the power of communities coming together to confront oppression and demand civil rights, dignity, and freedom. He reminded us that the time is always right to do right, even and especially when the odds are stacked against us." That truth resonates powerfully in this moment. She continues, "Today, our communities are facing renewed threats through harmful policies, aggressive immigration enforcement by ICE, shrinking resources, and an administration that appears intent on rolling back hard-fought gains." Dr. King did not shrink in the face of state violence, political hostility, or economic retaliation, and neither can we, she writes. His legacy calls us to collective courage, moral clarity, and sustained action in the face of systems designed to wear us down. In that spirit, today's service not only honors Dr. King's life, but serves as an invitation, as a call for us. How do we, you and I, want to show up in this moment? How can this crucial time from our collective past inspire us or offer wisdom to us for our troubling present? I'm grateful to be here with Catherine Errecart, our worship associate. And today's service is for all ages, so I'm pleased to have a multi-generational cast of participants for our Readers Theater that will retell some of these turning point moments of our history. All their names are in your order of service. Very grateful to all of you. This service also centers Black authors for our liturgy and music arising from the African American spiritual tradition offered by our own Susan Adams, as well as a special treat, the Expansion Quartet that you got to hear a moment ago, who will also be with us later this afternoon. All ages will stay together in worship for today's service, and everyone is invited downstairs afterwards for coffee, treats, and conversation. And yes, what is a question you might ask someone you do not know well? Here's one. When the snow falls all day long, what do? Wait until it finally stops? Shovel 3 or 4 times during the day? Just leave it because eventually it will all melt in the spring? What do? I don't know. Y'all can sort it out after the service. A couple of announcements. Tomorrow is the wonderful, inspiring NAACP Martin Luther King Breakfast and Concert. There will be a pancake breakfast and then the concert beginning around 9:30 or 10. It's been wonderful every time I've been. Please come to that. Also, this is the time to sign up for covenant groups. It's a great way to get to know other South Churchers on a more personal level. So that's happening right now, and you can find out more in your order of service. And Unity Hub is one way to get involved that is relationally grounded, values-based, a place to nurture connection, courage, and community in challenging times. That's this Thursday, the 22nd, from 6 to 8. And as I mentioned, the Quartet will be this afternoon, and they'd like to share a little bit about that.
My name is Adam Gallant. I'm the principal trumpet of the Portsmouth Symphony Orchestra. In honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the Expansion Quartet and the Portsmouth Brass Ensemble will be giving a concert here today at 3 p.m. The program is going to feature music by two underrepresented African-American women composers, Florence Price and Jessie Montgomery. In today's Offertory, you'll hear Price's Adoration played by the quartet. Price was an early 20th century American composer. She has the distinction of being the first African-American woman to have a piece played by a major symphony orchestra. In contrast, Montgomery is a contemporary African-American composer having her works played across the globe. We'd love it if you buy a ticket, help support live music, and help support performances of diverse repertoire. I'll be here after the service if anyone has any questions. Thank you very much.
As we formally begin our service, we recognize that this building, this spot, this congregation stands on colonized land, land that had been stewarded for thousands of years by the Pennacook and Wabanaki peoples who were displaced, yet whose wisdom and presence endures. As we honor Dr. King today, we remember what he stood for: freedom, equity, and the inescapable network of mutuality. In other words, the interdependent web of our existence. May we let this acknowledgement be more than words. May it teach us to notice what we've been trained not to see, to tell the truth about our history, and to keep choosing repair, right relationship, and justice in how we live and lead and love.
Somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush. Somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, oh my Lord. What shall I do? What shall I do? Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, oh my Lord. What shall I do? What shall I do?
Okay. This chalice lighting was written by Adrian L.H. Graham. We kindle a flame of power, illuminating the holy in each of our faces. We recognize in the flame a passionate commitment to our shared faith. We are held and carried from day to day, week to week, in the shining of the light. This flame is mine as well as yours. We are brought together on this day, called to growth, to expansion within its glow. What does your heart know while beholding this holy fire? Please rise in body or in spirit for our mission statement. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community. You may be seated.
It is a privilege to present this Reader's Theater today, written by Reverend Clyde Grubbs and Mary Jane Holden, adapted by Reverend Erica Hewitt, and adapted for this morning by Jendel Deo-Barry and me. The story you're about to hear about the civil rights movement is one that needs to be told over and over, so we remember its people and its principles. It is not a comfortable story, nor should it be. If you feel discomfort, stay with it. Let it be holy agitation that keeps us awake and keeps us honest and calls us into the kind of remembrance and resistance Dr. King embodied. In order to understand the power and meaning of the life of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we have to go back in history and explain who Jim Crow was.
Jim Crow was a character in the minstrel shows, popular theater shows, that lots of white Americans went to in the mid-1900s. The shows were full of music and dancing clowns and skits.
Jim Crow was a white person who would paint their face black to pretend to be a black person. And the joke was cruel, to portray black people as stupid, as people to be made fun of.
Sadly, many white Americans began to treat that fake character as though that's what black people were really like. After the Civil War, when slavery ended, the white leaders in southern states still wanted to control and oppress black people. So they made up a set of laws that pushed black people into second-class citizenship, and they named those laws after the clown character Jim Crow.
Jim Crow laws kept black people in separate schools and blocked them from good jobs. They also were made to prevent black people from voting by making them take a difficult test that white people did not have to take. Somehow, the people giving the test always found that black people failed it. There was also a tax on voting in some places, so people had to pay to vote, which kept poor voters, many of whom were black, off the voter lists.
One of the most humiliating Jim Crow laws was on buses and trains. White folks rode in the front of the bus, and black folks had to ride in the back. There were little signs along the bus aisle that indicated white or black, and these signs could be flipped so that if the white section filled up, black people would be told to stand. even if there were seats open in the black section.
Black communities struggled against Jim Crow laws since their inception, but in 1954, the Supreme Court made a particularly important decision. In Brown versus the Board of Education, the court made it clear that laws setting up separate schools were unconstitutional. They said that separate schools were inherently unequal, and they therefore violated the promise of equal protection in the Constitution.
It was clear that Brown versus Board of Education was supposed to end all forms of racial segregation in public facilities. But local Jim Crow laws did not disappear right away. They would need to be overcome one by one.
Let us gather our hearts and minds in a spirit of prayer or meditation with these words from Reverend Viola Abbott. Let us call forth and hold in our hearts the stories of all who have come before us, the memories of those who are with us today, and the hope for tomorrow and for all of those who will come after us. Let us be thankful for this opportunity for healing, forgiveness, and reconciliation, while knowing that we can never, should never forget what has brought us here today. Let us be glad that voice has not only been given to those whose sorrow and pain were their companions in this faith, but that the stories told by those voices have been received with a goal of redemption and understanding. Let us call upon that light which shines in each of us to give us the strength to walk together into the future and do the work that is necessary, which does not end here today. Let us have the wisdom to lovingly have the conversations we need to have with each other, that we must have with each other, in order to grow this faith in radical love and inclusion. As the music follows, you are invited to hum along or sing along, or simply take in the words and music as we join together with a meditative, open spirit.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere.
Amen.
It began with Rosa Parks.
Not really. It began long before then, in many places, with many people.
It began when the first enslaved people were taken from their homes in Africa and brought to America. There was a proclamation, a civil war, Reconstruction, and so many promises made and broken.
But for the person we honor this holiday, for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the movement he led, we will for now say it began with Rosa Parks.
December 1st, 1955, Montgomery, Alabama. Rosa Parks was riding bus number 2857 home from work. She was sitting in the front row of the black-only bus seats. The bus driver told her to give up her seat so a white man could sit down.
And Rosa Parks said no. No, I will not. She was tired. She had paid her fare, and she knew she had dignity.
The bus driver called the police, and Rosa Parks was arrested because she wouldn't give her seat up for a white man.
Miss Parks wasn't the first person to say no. Irene Morgan had done the same thing 9 years before, and Sarah Keyes had done it just a few months earlier. This time, people noticed. That's how the Birmingham bus boycott began.
Rosa Parks had already been working for fairness and justice as a secretary of the Montgomery chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or NAACP. She knew her rights and she was tired of giving in. She lost her job as a seamstress, but she had started a movement, and when she was arrested, the black community in Montgomery decided they'd have enough too.
Organizers asked a young minister, Martin Luther King Jr., to help lead, mainly because he was new in town and unknown, and the city fathers of Montgomery hadn't had a chance to intimidate him. The head of the NAACP actually had to push Reverend King to get him to take the job, but he finally agreed.
The night of Rosa Parks' arrest, the Women's Political Council printed and handed out a flyer in Montgomery Black's black community.
The flyer said, "Another woman has been arrested and thrown in jail because she refused to get up out of her seat on the bus for a white person to sit down. This has to be stopped. The next time it may be you, or your daughter, or your mother. This woman's case will come up on Monday. We are, therefore, asking every Negro to stay off the buses Monday in protest of the arrest and trial. Don't ride the buses to work, to town, to school, or anywhere on Monday. You can afford to stay out of school for one day if you have no other way to go except by bus. You can also afford to stay out of town for one day. If you work, take a cab or walk, but please, children and grown-ups, don't ride the bus at all on Monday."
For days, then weeks, almost no black riders used the buses. People walked miles to work and school. They wore out their shoes, and still they kept going.
Some people tried to stop them. There were threats, there was fear, but there was also courage.
Dr. King said, "A miracle has taken place."
People started riding bicycles, they started walking. Black taxi drivers reduced their fares for black riders, and when the city officials passed a law saying it was illegal to charge a rider less than 45 cents, that didn't stop it. It just got bigger. Black churches raised money to support the boycott. They even collected shoes to replace the worn-out footwear of Montgomery's black citizens.
A group called the White Citizens Council fought back. Martin Luther King Jr.'s and Ralph Abernathy's houses were firebombed. So were 4 black Baptist churches. Boycotters were attacked and beaten all over town. King was arrested for protesting, spent 2 weeks in prison, and became nationally known. Much later, Dr. King said,
I was proud of my crime. It was the crime of joining my people in a nonviolent protest against injustice.
The boycott lasted almost a year, and in the end, the law was changed. Segregation on buses became illegal. It wasn't just about buses, it was about dignity. It was about standing together.
Now, everybody, please join me in reciting Dr. King's words on the TV screen over here. In all of our actions, we must stick together. Unity is the great need of the hour, and if we are united, we can get many of the things that we not only desire, but which we justly deserve.
By the way, Rosa Parks went on to live a long life. She was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, and there's a statue of her in the National Statuary Hall. When she died, she was only the third private citizen to lie in honor in the Capitol Rotunda in Washington, D.C.
And now, please rise as you are able and join in singing the song that is on the insert in your orders of service, We Shall Not Be Moved.
So you'll notice on your insert it says chorus, repeat, and then it has the verses, and then we'll do one more chorus. And you can also just follow me. We shall not be moved, just like the tree that's
By 1963, the civil rights movement had become a national movement. There had been sit-ins at lunch counters, voter registration drives, freedom rides on buses, and some school districts had begun desegregation. But there was a fierce resistance in some states, including Alabama. Governor George Wallace and local officials fought to resist the changes, even in the face of court decisions and growing federal pressure. In his first speech as governor of Alabama, Wallace's inaugural words contained these sentiments. In the name of the greatest people that have ever trod this earth, I draw a line in the dust and toss the gauntlet before the feet of tyranny, he said. I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever. Wallace would ultimately be proven wrong, but it took years of determined courage to overcome Alabama's white supremacist power structure.
Birmingham, Alabama, 1963. Martin Luther King Jr. and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, known as SCLC, their leadership agreed it was time to face segregation head on. To do it in the center of the segregationist resistance and to do it with a nonviolent approach that was beginning to take hold. As Congressman John Lewis later explained,
our goal in Birmingham was larger than ending segregation in one southern city. We hoped that our efforts in Birmingham would dramatize the fight and determination of African American citizens in all the southern states, and that we would force the Kennedy administration and Congress to pass a strong Civil Rights Act, outlawing segregation and racial discrimination in public spaces, jobs, and education.
Bull Connor, Birmingham's Commissioner of Public Safety, was a determined segregationist. When the campaign began in early April, he tried to stop it with force.
The movement began with mass meetings and nonviolent direct action, sit-ins, marches, a boycott of downtown stores, and voter registration efforts. More and more people joined every day.
On April 10th, the city got a court order to end the protests, but Dr. King and the SCLC refused to stop. Dr. King said,
"We cannot, in all good conscience, obey such an injunction, which is unjust, undemocratic, and unconstitutional misuse of the legal process."
Dr. King knew that if he continued, he would be arrested, and he worried about what that would mean for the movement, but he decided he had to go.
He said, "I have to make a faith act. I don't know what will happen or what the outcome will be. I don't know where the money will come from."
But on April 12th, he got himself arrested for violating the court order, and he was slammed into solitary confinement.
He wasn't even allowed to call Coretta Scott King, who was home with their new baby, until federal pressure helped make that happen.
Finally, after a huge movement all across the country just to raise the money, King was released on April 19th, 1963.
during his time in jail, Dr. King came to recognize how big the movement was becoming. It wasn't just about the Deep South anymore, even though that's where the oppression of black people was the worst and had lasted the longest. No, this was about black people all across the country. In his famous letter from Birmingham jail, he wrote, and I invite you to join me in saying these words: "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Never again can we afford to live with the narrow, provincial, outside agitator idea. Anyone who lives inside the United States can never be considered an outsider anywhere within its bounds.
But change did not come just because Dr. King was released. The movement needed to keep the pressure on and to make the whole country pay attention.
And that is when the children came. The movement invited high school youth to join the demonstrations.
They had no idea what a lion they were releasing, how powerful that would be.
On May 2nd, barely 2 weeks after King's release, more than 1,000 black children came together to protest in Birmingham, Alabama. 900 of them were arrested. The next day, nearly 2,500 more took their place.
And Bull Connor, still in control, couldn't stand it. He kept his people under control until then, much as he hated to do it. But now,
he ordered firefighters to turn their hoses on the protesters.
He told police officers to let their dogs loose.
Images of children being knocked down and harmed were broadcast across the country and around the world.
John Lewis said, "We didn't fully comprehend at first what was happening. We were witnessing police violence and brutality, Birmingham style. Unfortunately for Bull Connor, so was the rest of the world."
Under growing pressure, city leaders began to make agreements, steps toward desegregation, fairer hiring, better communication between black and white leaders.
but white supremacists responded with terror. Dr. King's brother's home was bombed. Another bomb was planted near the motel where King was staying.
Then, on a Sunday morning, a bomb exploded at the 16th Street Baptist Church, and 4 little girls were killed.
It was a national turning point. People across the country felt the urgency and the call to stand together. On August 28th, 1963, more than 200,000 people gathered in Washington, D.C. and marched to the Lincoln Memorial.
That's where Martin Luther King Jr. gave the speech that everyone remembers, the speech about his dream that became everyone's dream.
Today's offering goes to Planned Parenthood, which is a leading provider and advocate of high-quality, affordable sexual and reproductive health care for all people, as well as a provider of sex education. You are welcome to contribute to the plate that will be passed around or to use the QR code in your order of service.
this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share in love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
Martin Luther King Jr. did not set out to be famous or powerful. He was a young pastor who was asked to help. After Rosa Parks was arrested, the NAACP needed someone to speak, and Dr. King said yes. He believed deeply in nonviolence, in meeting hate with love, and injustice with courage. Leading a huge movement this way was new to our country, and it wasn't easy, but he was committed.
Over the 11 years following the bus boycotts, Martin Luther King Jr. became a world figure. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his work.
As time went on, Dr. King's thinking transformed. He began to see that real freedom means everyone has what they need. He knew that this would have to go beyond civil rights.
He saw that there were people of every race and heritage who were struggling, and that unfair systems hurt all of us. He started to speak out against power structures and police, even when it made people really uncomfortable, and even though it put him in danger.
Dr. King saw connections everywhere. He saw people fighting oppression around the world. He saw colonialism, unfair wages, poverty. He believed all of these struggles were connected to the same work he was doing, that they all related to power, identity, and oppression. He made plans to join the civil rights movement with the labor movement in what he described as a poor people's campaign. He died in Memphis, Tennessee. He was there to support the sanitation workers' strike, which was a strike of white workers and African American workers who had united in the Deep South for their rights to organization and decent wages.
The movement changed our country in big ways. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, laws that helped make things more fair.
But in the final days of his life, Dr. King said something important. As thousands and thousands of Black people and white people and Asian people on both sides of the Vietnam War continued to die, he saw that the quest for civil rights was a quest for human rights, that it was about caring for all people of every race, everywhere.
Today, we honor Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
We give thanks for a movement that helped change the world.
And we remind ourselves that this movement belongs to all of us. We are part of the story. We are all citizens of the world.
Earlier, I invited you to stay with discomfort and to let it become holy agitation, not for its own sake, but because it can move us toward what Tanisha named in the quote I shared earlier: collective courage, moral clarity, and sustained action. So as we now bring this worship service to a close, I want to ask, how do we want to show up in this moment, in our lives, in our community, in the public square? What will we do with what we've heard?
We will close this morning with a song that's often called the Black National Anthem. It's powerful, especially when we pay attention to the context. And it is, in the words of Aisha Ansano, a very, very powerful song, but it is often sung without context, and at times it's sung without a lot of intentionality. So before we sing, let's pause. Lift Every Voice and Sing tells the truth about pain, courage, and hope through this country's history of racial violence. Some of its words are hard, and they are meant to be. When we sing, treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered, we remember real suffering, not just history long ago, but realities that still matter today. So let's sing together with attention to the words and intention to really hear them. If you feel discomfort, stay with it. We will be here in the discomfort together. Let it teach us and let it move us toward justice. So now, as you are willing and able, please rise for hymn number 149 in your gray hymnals. Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Ring with the harmonies of
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us in our hearts and out into the world until we meet again.
I end with these words from the Reverend Kimberly Johnson, inviting us right back to the beginning of this service and the song with which it started. Hush, somebody's calling your name, she writes. Can you hear it? Calling you to a past not quite forgotten, calling us to a future not fully imagined yet. Hush, hush, somebody's calling our name. What shall we do?